This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hey everybody, this is Chase from Barrel Age Flicks. Go ahead and check out our Patreon for raw, uncut footage and early access to all of our episodes. The link is in the description, and it's only $5 a month. Thanks for listening.
They couldn't go to Neptune or Uranus, twin worlds in eternal night and perpetual cold, both surrounded by an unbreathable atmosphere of methane gas and ammonia vapor.
Think of that.
All we've seen is the heat ray they use.
Take care of these babies now. Dr. Forrester, get out of here.
They are living creatures out there.
They're not human.
That is, the Martians can conquer the Earth in 6 days.
Same number of days it took to create it.
Los Angeles now.
Come on, jump in.
We'll establish a line and fight them all the way back to the mountains.
We're friends. Yeah.
Of all the worlds that the intelligences on Mars could see and study, only our own warm Earth was green with vegetation, bright with water, and possessed a cloudy atmosphere eloquent of fertility.
Hey, what's up, guys? Brown over here. I got Stu with me and Tyler for this small batch episode. We are about to start, and of course, we are going to start with a beverage.
What's going on, guys?
Hey. So, funny thing about this is that I already had a beverage in mind, but I kind of got canceled out. It was going to be called Alien Secretion.
Don't be such a bitch about it.
Oh, come on. So Tyler texted me, said, hey, I got a drink for us tonight. He's like, no, I already got one. And I said, what is it? Alien Secretion? Oh, well, that sounds like Martian cum. So
Yeah,
that kind
bro.
of canceled me out. So we got a different beverage here. How about you tell us what it is, Tyler?
All right, cool. So we got Sci-Fi Hamster Wheel from Thin Man Brewery out of Buffalo, New York. It's an IPA. With an ABV of 6.6%. We literally picked this up because of the can. Like, literally because of the can.
It looks like a freaking Borg hamster.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
Yeah. So, you got Cyborg Hamster right next to Flash Gordon Hamster.
Oh, I didn't see the hamster on the top. That's
Yeah, with the ray gun. Yeah.
There's another one over here with like a jetpack on the top.
Hell yeah. Fuck yeah. Rocketeer hamster.
He's about to fuck that wheel up.
All right, let's try this out. Cheers, guys.
Can I smell it already? Ugh. Yeah, it's not great.
No.
Oh, fruity.
Fruity. It tastes like shit.
Yeah. Ron, you're up.
I don't like it. Flat out. It's very bitter. I'm not a big fan of India Pale Ales. It just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. I'm not a fan of this. 2 thumbs down. Sorry, I'm not going with this one. How about you, Stu?
All right, I'm okay with most pale ales. This one just has really strong notes of grapefruit, and I'm not a fan of that.
I taste that.
Yeah.
I do taste that.
Yeah, and I don't like grapefruit. I don't like grapefruit in my beer. So 2 thumbs down.
Yeah. Ugh. How about you, Tyler?
Yeah, so I tried looking up the IBU, or the International Bitterness Unit, for this beer because it's an IPA. IPAs are historically very, 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 very bitter, and that's just because, like, where it gets the name India Pale Ale from is because beer had to be shipped to India, and they usually came from Germany, England, and everything, and they had to make that long trip to India. This was pre aviation, so like they had to make sure it had like extra hop in it because that way it would last the journey. That's the reason why we have Guinness Extra Stout, for the exact same reason, because it was very, very popular in Jamaica,
right?
And they had to make it extra strong, so that way by the time it got to Jamaica, it still tastes something like a Guinness. And a lot of these things just kind of lasted because some people actually tried it fresh, so to speak, and they still liked it a lot. So this definitely has like that bitterness to it that I really don't like, and there's definitely a lot of fruity undertones to it. And
the grapefruit is. Do you taste the grapefruit?
Yeah. I like. So there was one of the pages referenced like a pineapple kind of taste to it. And there's definitely like a fruit, like kind of a fruity kind of taste to it, and I'm not digging it.
I'm not digging it. I don't sense the pineapple at all. But yeah, and I love hops. I really do. I'll take a 90-minute, 120-minute, brew.
Well,
but yeah, this is not good.
Well, we can say one thing. At least the can looks good.
Yes. Yes.
Good for sitting on a shelf and looking nice. But for a drink, no. This is probably my only time I'm going to be drinking this. But you know what? That's what we try. We learn with the different beers that we try out to see. So, there we go.
Yeah. Sorry, Thin Man Brewery.
I think the alien secretion might have been better.
But I do know a lot of people who would enjoy something like this. A lot of people do like notes of grapefruit, notes of the bitterness and everything that goes with it. So this definitely does serve a section of the market,
right?
Very well, I would assume, but it's just definitely not for me.
Well, the beer definitely goes with the movie that we are doing today, which is going to be War of the Worlds from 1953, one of many editions that have come out. This is considered a classic from the 50s. What do you think about it, Tyler? After seeing it, this was the first time you seeing it, right?
Yeah. So, this was the first time I ever seen it. Of course, growing up, you can't avoid it. There's a lot of movies, a lot of classics that you can't avoid growing up. Everything from The Thing to Freddy, Jason. There's just a lot of movies out there that you can't avoid, and everyone sort of knows about just because it's everywhere in pop culture. It just permeates it. But yeah, this movie was definitely a product of its time, but it was great. It was really, really good. I'm
surprised that you've never seen it like on TV back in the day or something like that, or even I saw this in school. Mm-hmm. I actually saw this in a science class in school. I remember one of my teachers put this on for all of us to watch, and I've seen many times on TV. How about you, Stu?
Days that the teachers didn't want you to fucking do anything; they just gave no shits.
Exactly.
Yeah. But no, this movie was great because it was a template for every alien invasion movie thereafter.
Yeah.
I'll even go a step further and say that Independence Day was either like an unofficial remake or a ripoff of this film.
In a way, Independence Day. This one in this movie. I don't know about the book, but they're basically trying to leave Mars because of they're dying on that planet.
Yeah, but that was the exact same reason for the aliens on Independence Day too.
Independence Day? No, yes. I thought they were just going to different planet to planet just to kill everybody off.
No, that was something that they remember. It was the scientist he's being controlled by the alien, and then he through the glass, the alien it makes like a telekinetic or telepathic connection to
with the great Brent Spiner.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Data.
Yeah. Is it data or data?
It's data.
I heard that argument.
Who calls him data?
Yeah.
I know. I was just believe it or not, completely random little excursion that we're about to take here. So prior to Star Trek, the preferred pronunciation of that word was data, especially in America.
Really?
Yes.
I did not know that.
Jean-Luc Picard, Patrick Stewart, comes along with his English accent, pronounces it data.
Data.
And then it becomes such a popular show. A lot of people at that time really hadn't heard the word that often.
Right.
Because that was still, when computers were still becoming a major part of everything. And, and data was being talked about.
Yeah.
And they associated the way to pronounce the word with the way Patrick Stewart pronounced the word. And so
it kind of just got locked in.
Star Trek locked in the pronunciation because of his way he pronounced it.
Yeah, I did not know that. That's something that I just learned.
Yeah. In America, you say herbs. In America, in England, we say herbs.
Yes.
Because there's a fucking H in it.
Exactly.
Thank you, Eddie Izzard. Yeah, dude.
I got to finish it. I'm just trying to finish the beer. I'm not going to let it go to waste. Well, you bought it. I'm not going to let it go to waste.
Yeah. So what we're saying is, the alien makes a telepathic connection with President Bill Pullman, and remember, he comes back up, he almost passes out, comes back up and says, they're roaches, they infest an area or infest the planet, they deplete
until everything's gone, then they move on.
They deplete the resources and they move
on. That's
the exact same thing.
Okay, the resource. Okay, that's what got me. I thought they were just basically going to every single planet, but I'm also thinking of Slither too. Yeah, because Slither almost had the same type of thing too.
And I would think that just the fact of how popular this was, and it became such a accepted style. All right, aliens come from another world, take over, and like you were saying, basic template for every other alien movie after that. It follows the same beats.
Mars Attacks.
Yeah.
Well, so Mars Attacks.
That's more of a spoof.
It was absolutely a satire of this movie.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like even like with the ray guns and how everybody had kind of like a green or a red glow,
Yep.
like the skeletons coming out. That was the exact same death as one of is like the major colonel or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like it was the exact same thing. Like he's the one that's like, all right, get everybody out of here, and then like he gets hit with the green ray. His whole body turns green. His skeleton shows through, and then he just disappears. Whatever. That's exactly how Jack Black went out.
Yes.
In Mars Attacks.
Oh, yeah.
So it's very, very obvious. I mean, like it's even Mars Attacks. It's Martians,
Right.
coming to Earth or whatever, invading and destroying and just fucking just wrecking house. Like
Yeah.
like it's the same concept.
It's a great fucking comedy too. I mean, great movie from Tim Burton. I love that movie. I love Jack Nicholson in both his roles in that movie too, because he plays the president and he also plays the sleazy Texas boy. The billionaire, a millionaire. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that's
like
a
an
good
oil
one.
tycoon or something like that. I
Yeah,
can't
yeah.
remember. But yeah, no, it's like the one.
You don't remember that?
No, I do. The more I'm drinking this beer, the easier it is to get to drink.
Really?
Because your palate is getting tired. Just like
That may
All right,
be it.
ever since you said grapefruit, that's been stuck in my
Yeah.
head right now. That's
But
all I
the
taste.
more
is
I'm drinking
grapefruit.
it, the less shocking to the system it is.
Yeah, you're just like giving head punches to your palate. It's just like, all right, fine, fuck it.
I feel like I'm drinking a grapefruit drink. That's basically what it tastes like now.
But I'm not going to finish it, or I'm not going to not drink it because Mama didn't rate no bitch.
No, I'm going to finish it. Like I said, we finish everything that we drink. So,
But yeah, so this film definitely like it created the template for every invasion movie afterwards. Like aliens land in several places around the world. We foolishly think they're friendly. They attack. We get our ass kicked because they have shields. They always have shields.
yep.
And
Independence Day. Yep, you're right.
A weakness is found. We exploit that weakness. Earth is saved.
Yes. You know, the funny thing is you are completely on point about Independence Day now. When I think about it, it is basically a remake of War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
It's just in a more, I guess, epic way of doing it. You know, the special effects, seeing everybody wants to see the White House exploded or the fucking Capitol building or all the new Empire State Building and all that. But other than that, there is a lot of differences to this movie on the H.G. Wells. It's H.G. Wells, right?
Yes.
The book, because the whole thing about them being flying ships, there's actually supposed to be tripods in the original book.
Yeah.
And they do that in another remake of this movie, which is the Tom Cruise War of the Worlds.
Dog shit.
What do you mean it's dog shit? It wasn't bad.
It was bad.
Do you want to get into that now?
Yeah, actually, let's get into it. I'm really
It was
curious.
bad.
What did
It
you
was
not,
bad.
What, the acting or
Yeah, everything about it was just bad. I will watch the 1953 version every day of the week before I waste 1 minute of time watching that Tom Cruise version again.
okay? An opinion? Why? I'm just curious.
The acting was bad. They tried to make you care about people that didn't deserve to be cared about.
I kind of figure it related more to our, how people actually, they even did it inside the end of the original War of the Worlds when they're all attacking the vehicles at the end. It happened in this one too. I thought that was pointed out really because it shows what would really happen. It's more a realistic point of view of it.
It was, but it was wrong.
You just didn't like it?
No.
Wow.
No.
How about you, Tyler?
No. I actually, I would put it like a 5 out of 10 or something like that, or 3 stars or something like that, or 1 thumbs up. It's pretty good. As a matter of fact, I was just watching a review by Chris Stuckman on YouTube, and he made a good point. Like the movie has a lot of good scenes, and and the visuals are really really cool.
Oh yeah.
It's a Spielberg movie after all, but the acting, like Stu said, is god awful. Especially when you have good actors, like Tom Cruise is a fairly decent actor.
Yeah.
In spite of how crazy he is, he's a decent actor. Dakota Fanning was always really really good.
Annoying in that movie though.
Maybe that's what it was, is that because of the poor acting that they were putting out, I could never get invested in them because I kept seeing them as Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning instead of the characters they're trying to embody. And so I could not give any emotional fucks about them at all because it didn't draw me in.
Yeah.
Well, the whole thing about that movie is it really doesn't focus on the aliens more than anything. It focuses more on that family, and their survival going through and trying to get, he's trying to get his kids to his ex-wife, basically. What was the name of the actor that played the one in the basement? It's big actor too.
Tim Robbins.
Tim Robbins. Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure out. You didn't think his acting was good in that scene? You thought he was a little bit over the top?
He was okay. He was okay. He didn't bother. His character didn't bother me enough the way Dakota Fanning and Tom Cruise did. It didn't draw me out of the experience the way that they did.
So overall, you think the original 1953 War of the Worlds is a lot more entertaining?
As long as you go in with the mindset of recognizing this is, like Tyler said, a product of its time.
Right. Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah. Well, the
be
acting and the
willing-
special effects and everything else.
But I thought the acting was
It
actually
was good.
really well.
No,
in
it was
this
really
one.
good. In fact, I really liked that scene with the preacher that was walking out and he just gets vaporized. Do you want to talk about that scene?
Yeah. So the last small batch you guys did the witch, and I really liked that. Listening to it, you guys made a very, very good point about how the movie is revered by the Church of Satan. It paints a very, very bleak picture of this family in the woods that's praying to God, and God doesn't help them. And they eventually get picked off one by one, and the purest of them all, which I thought was a really, really great point by Lenny, eventually succumbs to the devil and joins the coven.
Yeah.
This movie is the complete opposite.
Right.
This movie is about a very prayerful bunch of people who continuously pray to God. Throughout the movie, Uncle Matthews, or the pastor Uncle Matthews, walks towards the aliens holding a Bible, reciting Psalms 23, trying to communicate with them, holding on to this last little bit of hope that these creatures are here to help us, or maybe he can talk to them, and then he just gets obliterated.
Just gets vaporized.
The point that really stuck with me about that, his belief was so strong, and when somebody even said how advanced they are, well, they're more advanced to us, and they got to be closer to the Creator.
Yeah.
All right. And I was like, that's a wonderful way to look at it. Instead of thinking you getting more removed as you become advanced, maybe you are getting closer to him.
Right.
And just the hope that he was exuding made me feel for that character.
Yeah. No, it was sad to see him go too on that scene. So,
well, he had there was a couple scenes that were very, very small touches between him and Sylvia that showed they had a very, very, they were very close, they
the scream that she pointed out right when it happened. I mean, she was just scared. I mean, it was sad. It was a sad scene to see that happen. I mean, because and the thing is, were you expecting it? Were you expecting that to happen?
Yes.
I was, but I cannot remember if the first time I saw it, trying to put myself in that headspace, maybe 25, 30 years ago when I first saw it.
Yeah.
I cannot remember what I was expecting at that point, and with the first time seeing it.
Right.
Of course, having seen it multiple times over my life since then, I knew exactly what's going to go on, obviously. But I could see why people would be very surprised and very shocked.
Right.
Because it definitely did build up the hope, it's going to turn out okay, good. And then just kicks you right in the junk.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you could tell that Sylvia and her uncle were very, very close. She tells a story about how she was, scared and lost, which could be an allegory for anybody who isn't very happy with their life.
Yeah.
And they eventually end up going to the church or to God to find fulfillment. And she goes to a church for safety, and she's found by her uncle.
Yeah.
Which to me, whatever, like I said, just seemed kind of like an allegory. And there's one part where it says the Martians are going to take 6 days to create or 6 days to destroy the Earth, and they say the same
time that the time to create it. Yeah, which is actually a pretty cool line. What did you think of Sylvia's character altogether? I mean, what did you think of how she portrayed, how she acted in that role?
No, she did great. You referenced the scream that she let out when her uncle.
It sounded
died.
real. Yeah, it sounded very real. It didn't sound like acting to me. It sounded really good. So
yeah, there's one part towards the end where where shit just starts just falling apart. I believe it was when they were separating Sylvia, in Dr. Forrester. And actually, I honestly can't remember which scene it was exactly, but things were just going really, really wrong.
Well, I remember her being more terrified when they went to that house. Remember when they went to that house and she first saw the alien?
Yeah, there was that. Yeah,
but there was another scene on. Okay, I know I'm jumping ahead, but remember when they cut off the what would you call that part? The probe of the alien, and they cut off and they try and get to see what they look like, or what they how they see us, or something like that. Mm-hmm. And one of the scientists asks her to look in because the thing was so focused on her, and she looks inside the eyes of the probe, and you could just see how she was shaking.
Yeah,
that was I enjoyed that part right there.
Yeah, no, there's a number of scenes where I just felt like she shined a lot.
Yeah.
She
did a great
really,
job.
really well. I think it was like when they're like running from the aliens, like and they're like hiding in these, like any ditch or whatever they could find, and she's just losing her shit, and yeah, like she just did like profoundly well.
What'd you think of Dr. Forrester?
Very flat. Yeah, I didn't think that Gene Barry did a very good job.
Really?
Yeah. I thought he had a very, very flat performance.
I actually liked his performance. I actually liked his character.
No. I mean, in my opinion, no. Who was it that he reminded me of? He reminded me of
Jeff Goldblum in Independence Day.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah,
because that's basically what he was.
Yeah. No, actually, it's a great, because Jeff Goldblum has he has these highs and these lows or whatever, and it's basically like Forrester's is just like this, or Gene Barry was just like this flat performance throughout the entire thing. Like the guy really didn't have a whole lot of expression or emotion throughout the whole thing. I mean, and maybe that was the point of his characters, as an intellectual man,
right?
He keeps his shit together, and is able to keep a level head. You could make that excuse, but I just think it was bad acting.
See, that's the thing. I thought his acting was good, especially when he was trying to look for Sylvia at the end.
That's what I think is why it's sold. To me, I enjoyed the character, Dr. Forrester. And yes, he did try to keep a level head, try to keep some separation of emotion versus fact of what's going on, knowing that basically the intellect is what has the best chance of winning this this whole battle.
Yeah.
I felt he did well, and then until the end when the separation happened and the riots and everything like that, and I felt you could see him cracking and seeing that.
That's
emotion.
what I mean. That's what and you didn't think that was good?
To me sold that ending more, just because you've seen him maintain his calm this entire time, and then you can finally see the stress of what's been going on these several weeks or however long it's been.
Right.
By that point, get to him, and the last connection that he has, which is Sylvia. What in his mind he's thinking he's lost that forever.
Yeah.
And I felt it was well. I really did.
Yeah. See, I agree with you on that.
Yeah. No, I still overall, I just think it was a flat performance. I don't think he did a very good job. I think that
you thought that Sylvia
Anne Robinson did a much better job of playing Sylvia Van Buren.
One thing that I don't know if you guys noticed this, but one thing that kind of pissed me off a little bit and just maybe scratched my head. So when they're in the war room, showing the massive war room, where they're showing the huge ass map, they're putting the actual pieces on there, showing where the current locations are, and the black little triangles representing the fleets. You see them on every major area, a nice line, and then they pan off, and Australia is completely covered. I'm like, why the fuck did they send so many goddamn ships to fucking Australia of all fucking places? Why that would be one of the last places I would take. Are they playing Risk? What the fuck is going on? There is no benefit to them taking over Australia like that, when at that time there was maybe fucking 50,000 people in the entire goddamn continent. Why did they care so much about Australia to invest probably 20% of their ships at the time?
Maybe they're just really interested in koalas and kangaroos and shit. I don't fucking know.
To me, that's the most deadly place, so I'd want to wait till the end and I have everything else covered before I fuck with all those creatures there.
Okay, the one issue that I have with I guess I'm gonna go ahead and talk about our issues with the movie, or just bring it up. The part when the asteroids or whatever they come down, and there's a little cap that unscrews, and their top part of because their ship, what it is, it's basically like a big long neck with a red eye, basically with the vaporizer, and a big ship. But you see it come out of that hole. How does the whole ship fit out of that little small hole that unscrews?
I don't think the
spit
whole
on
ship.
it. I don't know.
I don't think it was the whole ship. I think that was their opening for the first little tendril to start coming out.
Because they never show the ships come out of the asteroid.
I think because they say they travel in groups of 3. So I think all 3 ships are basically connected and covered up in that dirt and debris from the landing, but they're all like one big form at the time.
Yeah.
And then they slowly get away the debris and everything from traveling.
Basically like a periscope off a submarine, basically.
Yeah. And then that tendril comes out that scans everything and then shoots the lasers and shit like that. That's in them opening that port, because they're no longer having to be air sealed. and so they can shoot this thing out now.
What do you all think of the design of the ships?
I think it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like they described it as a cross between like a manta ray and a cobra.
Yeah.
Two things that just naturally look terrifying. And they're called war machines, which is just cool as fuck.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, that's amazing. Now, would you have rather it been all right, I know you hate the War of the Worlds Tom Cruise edition, but compared to the tripods in that one and the flying ones in this one, which one do you like more?
I didn't say it like that. I hated like the Tom Cruise one. As a matter of fact, like there were certain things that this movie got right because at the time CG wasn't a thing at all. They could superimpose things. Like that's how they did the ray gun, and that's how they did the shielding and everything like that. It was all like superimposed things.
But you know what? The special effects in this movie were actually pretty decent. In fact,
at the time, absolutely.
Yeah, that had been cutting edge.
One of my favorite shots. It's actually kind of scary when you watch the shot when Dr. Forrester and Sylvia are flying the plane, and you see him go over that hill, and right when they go over the hill, you just see those 3 ships on the right side of the screen just coming up. I mean, what would you do if you saw that? I thought that was a pretty decent scene right there.
Yeah, no, I shit myself. Yeah,
They just wonderful to me. And if you're an invading force, to get the most damage, to me, going by air would be the way to do it. And
that's true.
The way they talked about, all right, they just connect and then they just start basically sweeping sections and eliminating everything in that section and then moving on. And that'd be, especially if it's one that's been around for a while and they've potentially fought off other things and dealt with other things.
Yeah.
They figured out the most efficient, most energy conserving way to establish dominance, and that's what they did.
Yeah,
and to me, the airships were much better of an idea than just the tripods walking around the way they had in the Tom Cruise one.
Well, it wasn't even the Tom Cruise. That's actually on the original book. I believe that's what they originally were.
But you also have to think, when in the original book, H.G. Wells trying to fantasize what they were.
Yeah.
Flying ships wasn't going to be nearly as much of a major point in his mind when he was writing the book.
Yeah, when was the book written? Do you remember?
Yeah, 1898.
Okay, yeah. And the original, and did it take place around that time also when the invasion happened?
Mm-hmm, yeah. So the book was written in 1898, and it was written by H.G. Wells, who also wrote the Time Machine. H.G. Wells often is called.
That's another good movie.
Yeah. He's often called like the father of science fiction.
Yes.
And the original story takes place in England. Basically, every single time this movie gets remade or the story gets retold, it's like in a new part. When Orson Welles did his radio broadcast, it was New Jersey, and then like when this movie's made, it was in California, and then when the Tom Cruise version's made, it's in New York. It's like it just keeps like switching, but like it's also because like they try to keep this story contemporary to whenever like the movie or the TV show or whatever, or the radio broadcast was being done.
Which makes sense. You're going to want to, the best chance to elicit the reaction that they're going for is by putting it something that you're familiar with and what you see every day, and then making you be forced to imagine it happening in your life.
Well, see, the Orson Welles was meant to be a radio play, but I believe people thought that it was real. Yeah, and they actually got scared and thought that we were actually being invaded.
Yes.
And I think even in the beginning of the show, they even said that this is a radio play.
Yeah, they did.
But people missed that part, and they started listening to this. Oh my God, this is happening. We're being invaded.
Yeah, because that was their medium of getting information.
Yeah,
was through radio. And if you did not pay attention to that beginning line, then you're turning it on and you're hearing all this shit, and they played it perfectly.
No, it was very realistic.
News broadcast going on and describing this shit. And if I turned on CNN and I'm starting to see a bunch of fucking alien ships attacking shit, I'm going to be like, holy fuck.
And that's the thing is, back then, nothing was on TV. There was no TVs. Everything was through radio. So it seemed a lot more realistic, and people didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah. I mean, like, imagine, like, just scanning through your radio, like, and like, hearing this.
What anything means. Wait a minute, something's happening. Humped shape is rising out of the pit.
Yes, that would scare the shit out of me. And see, and at that time, see, if we were around that time, born at that time, you're like, what the fuck is going on?
Yep.
People would be probably looking out their window. People probably start packing their shit and leaving.
They did. Yeah. That happened. Massive police calls were done. Everything.
Yeah. I'm grabbing my family. I'm grabbing my gun. And we're fucking going.
I need to go. I need to re-listen to that.
Amazing radio play. It was an amazing radio play, and they sold everything so damn well.
Yeah, and Orson Welles being the way that he is, with the way that he talks, it just sounded perfect.
Yes.
I remember listening to it because my dad had the first time all right, I'm going to have to talk about this. The first time I ever heard about War of the Worlds, I was going through my dad's vinyl collection, and he actually had a vinyl record. No, I'm not talking about that yet.
Okay.
He actually had the broadcast on record, and it had pictures from it and everything else. It looked like little news reels on it on the vinyl, and I listened to it, and it just sounded like an old radio. I didn't know what the hell it was, and I was young and didn't. And then my dad had another thing called War of the Worlds, the musical. Yeah. It's made by Jeff Wayne. I don't know if you guys are going to have to check it out. I had Stu listen to it not too long ago, and he just basically looked at me and said, "Dude, that's bad. That's so bad."
He's ramping up.
I grew up on it.
The way your father gave you shit about people under the stairs.
Oh, come on.
You should have every single time thrown this fucking goddamn garbage fucking musical in his face. It is bullshit. It is so disco. It's such hot fucking steaming pile of shit.
It's got some good music in it.
I
grew up on it. They even did a remake with Liam Neeson doing the narration, and it sounds fucking amazing.
When you told me your father was a fan of this, I respect your father so much, but I'm like, God fucking damn it. He has just dropped a few pegs in my eyes now.
Oh man, you guys are gonna have to. You're gonna have to listen. I actually really would like to get your opinion about it. You're gonna have to look it up.
You mean after that glowing review?
Oh, you still gotta listen to it. I want to see. Sometimes you have a different form of opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody's entitled to their opinions, and
even if they're wrong. Wait till we get to our future movie on Barrel Age Flicks. Mm-hmm. All right.
Oh, I'm already prepared. I'm already prepared. You guys are acting like I am emotionally invested in this. I'm not.
All right, Tyler.
Yeah. So one other interesting thing about Orson Welles' broadcast is that everyone always talks about the 1938 broadcast where people you really don't like that, do you?
No, I do not. Oh.
Yeah. So something a lot of people don't know about the Orson Welles broadcast is that it wasn't just aired the first time, because I think it's because it was the first one in 1938. It was the first time it was done. It probably caused the largest amount of hysteria. However, it wasn't the worst. It was actually done several times throughout history. It was done in Buffalo, New York. It was rebroadcast, and apparently in some South American countries, I believe it was Ecuador.
Really?
They broadcasted it
at the same time.
No. Like throughout history, this is several times after the fact, and I think it's just because people probably heard about the hysteria. Let's broadcast it over our station so people can hear it. And the same thing happened. People tuned in, they heard it. And they heard the screaming and the stories about the police officers being eviscerated, and the descriptions of the aliens having leathery skin with black eyes and a V-shaped mouth with saliva dripping out of it. And they just went apeshit. They did what humans do. We sense danger, and we if society starts crashing around us, we start to take what we hold dear, our family, in a few items, and we book it. And that's exactly what started happening in some of these places, and apparently, it ended in some people getting hurt.
And I'm sure a lot of people actually went crazy and actually even got their weapons out and scared other people, and people even got arrested. I'm sure things like that happened.
So this movie was released in 1953, and overall, the 50s was just a strange time for kids. It was both the age of the Wild Wild West with Howdy Doody and cowboys, but it was also the space age, and we kind of see that with this movie. It was the age of Flash Gordon, astronauts, and little green men from Mars.
Yep.
It's kind of strange because it kind of seems that pulp culture was looking both 100 years in either direction, both past and future. And I think this is significant because the 50s really were a turning point in American history. Thereafter, it seemed like things were kind of changing every decade to decade to decade.
It was also the atomic era when atomic bomb and all that stuff came out. There were a lot of movies related to radiation and atomic.
Yeah, and it was featured in this film. We had the Geiger counter, and they actually tried to nuke the aliens, just like in Independence Day.
Yep.
But also when Toy Story was made,
the more you're talking about it now, I'm completely the whole thing about Independence Day. You are so on point about that being a remake now, because all the things that are in Independence Day are in this movie.
Yep. Yeah. Even look at the shape of the ships and the way the aliens.
Oh
look.
my God, you're right. Yeah, that's. Yeah, I did not even realize
And the fact that what took the aliens down in this one versus what took the aliens down in Independence Day, both viruses.
Yep, it was a computer virus in Independence Day, and then the original, it was like a
my mind is blown.
It was a bacteria or like a virus, something like that.
Yeah.
The little things, as they put it.
Well, because that was more of a computer virus, but it was still a virus. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Yeah, and so but yeah, anyways, like what I was saying about the 50s is that we saw that embodied in our own time with Woody and Buzz from Toy Story, because even though Andy was meant to be like a kid just like us, his toys seem to be very much like from the 50s.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, because wasn't Woody from a more, because the Westerns were really big around before the 50s, because there was a whole era where all the kids liked all the Western stuff and all the Western toys, and then there was like the whole space era where there was like the Space Boy type of thing where everything was about space.
Yeah.
And that was like a whole phase. It was like a whole, just like a thing now, like there was a whole point where there was all zombies all of a sudden. Everybody was into zombies and now vampires and True Blood and all that stuff. So,
well, what was weird about the cowboys and the astronauts and everything like that is that it seemed to happen about the same time, because like Howdy Doody and Flash Gordon were really popular at the exact same time.
Yeah. Have you guys ever seen Cowboys?
Different ends of the pendulum.
Exactly. Yeah.
Have you guys seen Cowboys and Aliens?
Yes.
I'm one of the only ones that I've never seen that one, because I've heard so much. Like, I heard it was horrible. Was it good?
It's not memorable at all.
It's not? Okay. Not worth it.
It was a great concept that failed in execution.
Wasn't it based on a comic or something like that?
Yeah. It was like graphic novel, adult comic, whatever.
And that's one of the ones that suffered in production hell forever, and then just got made real fucking quick.
Yeah, see, I've never done the research on that. I know it's directed by John Favreau, who actually directs really good movies.
Yep, that's why I was excited to see that, is I'm a fan of him.
Right.
And I was very let down. Of course, Harrison Ford, and I'm like, oh, this will be fucking awesome.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
Nope, didn't do good at all.
Yeah, but this movie, along with The Day the Earth Stood Still, and
that's a classic,
and Forbidden Planet, they define the sci-fi genre, and for decades after, we'd already mentioned how this movie in particular sort of define what Space Invaders movies kind of look like, but Forbidden Planet always gets brought up at the same time as the other two movies. Have you guys ever seen Forbidden Planet? Because I've never seen it.
Yes,
I've seen it. It's just I remember bits and pieces of it. I've also seen it put and related into a lot of other movies that I've seen. One of my favorites that we're actually doing on a Barrel Age Flicks called Explorers. There's a lot of things that relate to it.
Yeah, Forbidden Planet. Quick synopsis. Set in the future, a group of people were sent to an alien planet. I forget the name of it, and then they stopped communicating. So Earth sends out a rescue party trying to figure out what the fuck happened. They land. All they find on the entire planet is a Dr. Morbius and his daughter, who was already born after the landing. That's it. Dr. Morbius is like, y'all need to get the fuck out of here. There's some weird force going on. You guys need to go before it kills you too. They end up finding out that what the force is there was a machine from a previous culture that was on the planet that makes whatever you can think of, whatever you can imagine, a reality.
Yeah.
All right. So it could have potentially been a paradise, but they come to find out that the stuff from your subconscious, from your lower levels, from your id and stuff like that, monsters and massive creatures and shit like that you can't control because you have no control of your subconscious. It's the machine picks up on and is also creates those, and that's what kills everything. And it starred the robot that would eventually be recast and reused as a prop in Lost in Space.
All right, now I got a movie that I wonder if you ever heard of, from the famous bad director of all time, Ed Wood. Have you ever seen Plan 9 from Outer Space?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
no, I've seen Ed Wood by Tim Burton, but I've never seen Plan 9 from Outer Space, the actual movie.
I'm gonna have to let you borrow it. It's a good one. That's
he says good with quotation marks.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've seen what you call good before.
No, it's so good. I mean, it's so bad that it's
the musical
good.
That we're talking
Shut
about?
the fuck up. It's a classic. It is good. I'm going to tell you, all you listeners, you all need to check it out yourselves. And if it's that bad, send me an email and tell me how bad it is, because I'm waiting for those emails. I'm waiting for the trolls out there.
Yeah, but overall, this movie is it's pretty silly and campy by today's standards. It's hard to watch these movies through the prism of their time.
Yeah.
because we're living in 2021. Things are very, very different now than they were back in 1953. But I have to imagine that this movie was absolutely terrifying in the 50s.
Oh yeah.
At that time, I believe it was up until like the 60s. The greater majority of America was still agricultural. A lot of people were farmers. That's how they made their life. So imagine living in the 50s where probably all you have at your house is a radio. You probably don't have a TV because your family can't afford it. Occasionally on the weekends or maybe once a month, you'd go into town. You'd go to the theater with your single screen, and then you watch something like this.
It would have been absolutely insane.
Well, just think about Alien from the 70s. Everybody was horrified by that, seeing an alien pop out of somebody's chest like that. Nobody expected something like that, and that's something new to somebody's eyes. This movie, War of the Worlds, I don't think there's ever been a movie where the whole world is being demolished by these aliens from another planet, Martians. So it would scare people.
And I appreciate the fact that they very, very rarely actually showed the aliens themselves.
Yeah,
because the few times they did, it was just in quick.
All right, we got to bring up that scene.
It was quick, fleeting glimpses. Yes, it was ridiculous. The actual
you see his arms flailing up and down and everything, and
but their choice to show them very, very rarely and only in those quick glimpses, I thought that was a really inspired choice on their behalf.
Oh yeah,
because it takes you out of it and more of the fear of the unknown, the same way Spielberg ended up having to do with Jaws.
Yeah,
because of the mechanical issues is what made
usually the movie that doesn't show most of the monster is a whole lot better movie because it gives you more. You have more of imagination of what you're seeing. That's if you see too much of it, it looks too fake and it takes you out of it. But if you don't see it, you have a better imagination of what it is and it terrifies you more.
Yeah, and I thought
Did you guys agree with that?
No, absolutely. So speaking of Spielberg, I absolutely agree with that. With Super 8, the monster just wasn't satisfying in that movie at all. It probably would have been better left in the dark.
Now, what do you think of Cloverfield?
Same.
Yeah.
That's a problem with the more modern. I don't believe we talked about this in Aliens. The more modern creatures that are coming out nowadays, they're just not as stylized and they're not as iconic as some of the creatures from back in the day, the creature from the Black Lagoon,
which I'm sure terrified people at that time. Also, back in that came out in the 40s or 30s.
40s.
I think it was the 40s.
I want to say 40s.
Yeah. The xenomorph alien we talked about, Predator. Clash of the Titans, the Kraken.
Ah, yes.
There's a lot of. I know I'm talking about a very, very long span of time versus our very, very short amount of time here recently. But it seems that for the longest time throughout film history, most monsters were very, very iconic. Pumpkinhead being another one, in the way that they look and the way that they act and everything like that. And here recently, most of the monsters that we see nowadays are they're sort of formless, they're forgettable. Super 8, I know I just mentioned it just now, but it's not a memorable film. It doesn't get brought up nowadays. It's it's not as good.
All right, now this is I'm gonna relate to something real quick. Go ahead about Pennywise.
What do you guys think about Pennywise? To me, is one of the exceptions that show you have a great development of a character, a wonderful look to the character that carries on, and I think that's why that's going to be one of the ones that stick with you. The Nun is going to be one of the ones that stick with you and potentially hit that cult status that we watch years and down the road, because it was great effects for not just our time, but it wasn't so campy that we know it's going to age out super quick.
Yeah, the nun, believe it. I know this is way off subject, but that actually freaked me out, believe it or not. Especially when you think about the painting of the nun. And you're just looking at the dark. I could just imagine taking that painting and putting it down my hallway and in the dark and just seeing it look at you. It looks like it's just staring at you. It terrifies you. Now, something I got to bring up. It's a Star Trek. Something that always scared me. You remember the salt monster in Star Trek?
Yes.
Did that ever scare you?
No, I ain't going to say it did. I'm not going to say it did.
The weird mouth that it had and everything else, because that was of that time. That was of the 60s and everything. So
it didn't scare me. It really didn't. Of course, by the time I saw that, I was already with the next generation and their effects and their style, and that oil monster that killed Lieutenant Yar.
Oh yeah, and
All right.
Next Generation.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ty. We're going on Star Trek here.
Even though that was blank and formless, just the way it talked and its mentality was a lot more terrifying than that salt monster was.
Yeah.
It looks like my ex.
I was going to bring up the lizard monster that was fighting Kirk.
Hey, that's a classic. They ain't terrifying.
You can tell that thing was just
Awesome.
like a rubber mask, and the mouth never even moved.
Yes.
Yeah. But
what did you think of the alien in War of the Worlds? Though?
Oh no, it looked fucking ridiculous, and I'm glad I took the time to watch like a making of about this movie to kind of get a little bit more background, and I'll give like the makeup artist like a little bit of like or sculptor or whatever, like like the guy who makes kind of
reminded me of E.T.'s cousin, really, with the
Yeah,
eyes.
exactly.
Like the whole body looked like E.T., but had the fucking 3 colored eyes. It was really weird.
Yeah, so it looked ridiculous. A lot of what I'm about to say is just gonna echo like what Stu just said. But it looked fucking ridiculous. It had like suction cups for fingers. Like it had no neck. It had like this old like.
Hey, I like the suction cup fingers. I mean, that's kind of iconic to War of the Worlds. It was out in the TV show also. It's actually pretty iconic, that hand.
Yeah, man. Whatever you do like in your own private time. Whatever.
Oh, come on.
So
whatever.
But yeah, no, like the eye, like eyes. I'm not really sure like what that was, but it was a projection TV like Technicolor light set for eyes. Is what it was. Like
yeah, it was.
I think what it was like is because apparently like those colors, like the red, the blue, and the green were the Technicolor colors. You know, like when they filmed it, when those like it was projected and everything, like those were the colors. So those were the ones that were going to pop the most.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of the reason why they used it. But yeah, this movie would have been a lot better if they had like a better looking alien, or if they just didn't show it at all.
See, that's what I was going to say. Do you think it would have been better if they did not show that alien at all? Do you think it would have just been better if they had that probe and that was it, and it would cut off?
Yeah, well, because like at the end of the movie, when the arm just kind of falls out, and the pulsating veins just kind of slowly stop, and the movement stops, or whatever. Like that was a great scene.
Yeah.
Like by itself, but seeing the alien was just like
It took it away from it.
Absolutely. And what's even worse too is that so Pastor Matthews or Uncle Matthews like walks out towards these aliens, and like trying to communicate with them. There is a part in this like where I kind of wonder like, was that alien a warrior, or was that alien like a scientist, or was that alien like one of their priests or something like that, one of their elders? Because he wasn't armed.
Yeah.
He actually like walked up behind Sylvia
and put his arm right on it, like very softly. Like it wasn't even trying to attack her in any way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it was never ever threatening at any point in time. And it kind of made me wonder, like, was this alien trying to communicate with them? And what is Forrest to do? He throws a fucking axe at it.
No, you believe it or not, I had the exact same feeling after watching that scene. Like he almost kind of felt sorry for the alien in a way when he put his hand on it, because it wasn't attacking her. It was basically just, I think they just used it as an excuse just to show the alien in the movie. I think that's what it was.
But also, it could have been that they thought we were so primitive.
Yeah.
They were looking, they didn't think that we could be some sort of threat to them, even physically, let alone in their ships, that they looked down on us the way we would look at ants. And we pick up ants and look at them, for example, especially when we're younger and it's trying to figure out what they are, inspecting them.
Right.
But we're not afraid of them. They're just there.
Yeah.
And that also you have the time. Every time that people would be talking to them and trying to show, hey, we're cool, there's that hesitation. They don't immediately just fire at you. It's that few seconds, like, oh, is this going to work? And then they just fucking destroy your ass.
Yeah.
So that for all we know, the alien could have been doing the same thing. It would have been, there, and then a few seconds later, it would have been ripping her fucking head off.
Yeah.
Potentially.
In my opinion, I agree with Tyler in a way. They should have never showed the alien in the first place. It should have never been shown. You know what? You think would have been better? You know what would have been better if they just kept the hand on her shoulder, and then they just run off or something like that, and you never showed the alien. Do you think that would have made it better, Tyler?
Yes.
In a way, and didn't show what the alien looked like. I mean, because you saw it pulsating, and you saw the 3 like that really did it for me. Was those 3 eyes on the whole organic body? It looked like a mechanic. It was weird.
Yeah, no, absolutely was. Yeah.
So
yeah, because you see the alien a moment beforehand, because like one of the cylinders crashes into the farmhouse, They look out through one of the broken walls.
Oh, the one flailing his arms.
Yeah, and it kind of goes past the screen, and that was ridiculous. But it was so fleeting that they could have got away with that. Yeah. It was only after the alien puts his hand on Sylvia's shoulder, and they turn around and you see it plain as day, and you actually get it actually holds on it for a couple seconds. You can kind of take it in, and that's what really kind of ruins it, because you're looking at it, you're like this thing's not threatening at all. It's actually kind of cute. It's kind of adorable. I don't use those words very often. But
that's what I mean about the whole feeling sorry for it. That's
that's the way we, with our 21st century eyes, are looking at it now.
So you're thinking
everything
from that
we've
time.
seen, it just seems so non-threatening compared to all the other movie creatures that we've seen since then.
Yeah,
I don't know how it would have played.
You know what?
Back
He
in the early
does
50s.
have a point. So probably if we were living in that time and we didn't see the xenomorph, we didn't see all these aliens that we have now, it might have freaked us out because it's something new that we've never seen.
So alien,
yeah.
To use the word, just so different.
I guess you have to look at it from a point of view of that time. So if you never seen any other movie, and you saw that, it might have freaked you out more.
No.
You don't think so?
No, because we're still talking about a time after all the Hammer films. So Frankenstein's monster, Dracula. I mentioned the creature from the Black Lagoon earlier.
You're right.
But even those still were human-esque. Even the creature from the Black Lagoon was still human-esque, like a human and a fish had a fucking baby. In that case.
Well, how would you think that the blob?
Aliens,
the blob. How did that freak people out? It was just a big thing of jelly.
Because it was so different of a creature than they had been exposed to.
Right.
And vampires, Frankenstein, mummies, Nosferatu. Those are still human. When you boil it all down, they're still human. So potentially the monster they're showing in this one was so unknown and so different than anything they had been exposed to before. Maybe that worked well back then.
Yeah, no, you're right.
All right. So now that we're done shitting all over it, here's where I'm going to kind of give some excuses and kind of fill in the backstory on maybe why this creature looked the way it did. According to the making of, Charlie Gomorrah showed up on set the day before shooting, and the crew said that it was too big. So before all this, Charlie Gomorrah was apparently like a sort of a legend in the film industry. He was used to creating these gorilla costumes, these robots, and he was well respected. But all the costumes he had made were the size of a full grown man or even bigger. Yeah. So apparently he shows up on set the day before they're supposed to shoot this thing, and it's this massive fucking alien creature. And the crew and I guess whoever the director was of this movie, I can't remember off the top of my head, they say it's too big. I mean, we need something smaller. This is too big, which does make sense, because when you talk about planet size, so the smaller planet is, the less gravitational pull it is. The larger it is, the more gravity it's going to have.
Right.
So with a smaller planet, it would make sense that that the creature could potentially be smaller. So they wanted to make it smaller. So Charlie Gomorrah and his 12-year-old daughter had 24 hours to remake the costume.
Damn.
And that's the reason why the arms are so long and sort of I guess ape-like, you could say.
Really?
Yes, because
they really rushed into it, basically.
Yes, so they kept the arms because with the arms they had built in all these pumps and everything like that to so that way they could have the pulsating veins and everything, because
which was actually pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give her credit where credit's due. The pulsating veins, especially at the end of the movie, was very, very effective.
Yeah.
And so they were able to keep that, but that's the reason why the arms look so ridiculous on this small creature, because it had this what was supposed to be a 6 to 8 foot tall creature put onto a 5 foot frame. So so they had 24 hours to make this. That may be part of the reason why it just doesn't look that great, because it was done in less than a day.
For something that was modified in less than a day, then I completely give credit to them.
Well, I give credit to the arm, most likely everything, because the arm at the end of the movie was good. Mm-hmm. I really liked how you can tell that the thing was dying. It didn't look fake to me. It looked real.
So in reference to invasions, unfortunately, the way the invasion works out in this film is not really how it works out in reality, and certainly how it hasn't worked out in the past. Typically, whenever a technologically advanced society invades a more primitive society, the technologically advanced society comes out on top every time.
Yes.
Even when the aliens become sick and they become sick and they die from Earth's bacteria or their viruses or germs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's strange that the humans we don't become ill. We don't seem to contract anything from the Martians. Because historically, that's what's happened in the past. When the British colonized America, 90% of the indigenous population died mostly from smallpox. When H.G. Wells wrote this book, the story is apparently a commentary about the British Empire's invasion of Tasmania, where again, 90% of the population died from disease and other causes. Again, Australia and New Zealand and Tasmania being used as a prison colony. So felons, convicts being shipped out there, and then the unsympathetic colonizers. Again, 90% of the population died off. So the fact that this doesn't happen in the movie, I mean, I'm not rooting for a bad ending necessarily, but historically this is not how the way it's played out.
Right.
Now you're saying that they don't show anything happening to the humans, but we don't know. When it ended, keep in mind, they had a very small group that had potential, their alien bacteria, alien viruses that could affect us, a very small, contained group versus them breathing in our air, which is entire planet-wide and going to them. So the bacteria and the viruses are spread all throughout our environment, all throughout our air, everything like that. It's already everywhere. We don't know if after the ships crash and broke open and releasing whatever they have, but then their bacteria or their viruses could have started to multiply and potentially affected after the film ended and killed everybody else.
But what all depends is also Mars and the atmosphere over there and how bacteria takes over there on that planet. And how the difference on Earth, because
that's what I'm saying is that they brought their environment with them in small containers,
right?
The ships, and so it would have taken time for their bacteria to multiply and reproduce, and thereby potentially infect the humans. Versus all the bacteria that's already everywhere here on Earth that we are immune to,
right?
That the aliens just being bombarded with, which still surprised me. They such an advanced ship didn't have some sort of scrubbers for their air supply.
Well, it also goes back. Do you guys remember the movie Signs? Mm-hmm. Where the aliens...
No, I'm completely unfamiliar with it.
Yeah, well, the aliens come down to a planet that is 90% planet is water, and they're allergic to... water is what kills them, so why would they come down to a planet? So it kind of goes back to that,
That was fucking dumb.
Yeah, no, it was.
I totally agree with that.
It's a good movie.
I like that movie, but that was a dumb fucking ending. Yeah,
shitty. I don't. That's what Shyamalan's been really known for doing right now is lately shitty endings. He hasn't really had a good movie since The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. And I actually enjoy The Village. I don't know. A lot of people give The Village shit, but I enjoyed it.
The Village, I will say, the ending on that was a fuck ton better than Signs. A fuck ton better, but still.
Well, like I said, the whole thing about Signs and coming down to a planet and the water affects them and kills them. Why would they come down to a planet like that? So the advanced race in War of the Worlds, why would they come down to a planet when did they have germs on their side? They might have not had germs, Mars might not have had that, Yeah.
No, it was you can say what you want about the germs and the viruses, and Stu does make a good point about they're coming to our planet where our germs and our viruses are ubiquitous, they're fucking everywhere. However, why did I would think at the very least Sylvia and Dr. Forrester would get sick because they came in contact with the alien's blood.
Yeah.
Sylvia was touched directly by the alien.
Didn't think about that.
Whatever they're introducing, it could have been a virus or something, let's say comparable to AIDS. It isn't going to kill you in a few days, but it's going to fucking shut you down in the long term.
Yeah.
So they could have potentially contracted something like that, and we don't know because the movie doesn't show and everybody on Earth lived happily ever after forever. No, it just all the aliens died, people rejoiced. The end.
Yeah.
And that's where the movie ended.
Yeah. So speaking of the ending, there's kind of going back to our earlier conversation about how this movie was definitely the opposite of The Witch. At the end of the movie, Forster finds an entire group of people holed up in a church, praying for a miracle. They're singing hymns as they're hearing explosions and buildings collapsing around him.
And I wouldn't even say necessarily 100% praying for the miracle, but just deciding that this is probably the end. Let's go ahead and spend our last moments worshiping.
Well, it's kind of almost like the last rites, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a way of celebrating God's glory in a mass setting, and you get a feeling in a group than you do just sitting down and praying.
Yeah, but also to feel like relaxed and basically feel very like
accepting.
Yeah,
of course they're hoping
sense
for
of community.
Yeah, they're hoping for a miracle, of course, but I would think by that point most of them are already accepting that this is the end.
Yeah. And then like at the end of the movie, like the literal definition of a deus ex machina actually happens, where the aliens just suddenly start to crash their ships and they start to die left and right. And in the end, God himself is credited with the design of life that stopped the Martians. And they say that humanity was saved by the littlest things which God in his wisdom put upon the earth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the movie ends with the word amen, as if the film itself was a prayer that should we ever be invaded, that we would be saved.
Hey guys, thanks so much for listening to our podcast, Barrel Age Flicks. We are so excited for the upcoming episodes headed your way, including the bonus episodes of The Small Batch and Sammy Selects. If you like our show, please spread the word, let other people know. Also, if you're looking for us on Instagram, you can find us at Barrel Flicks, and on Facebook, you can find us with the name Barrel Age Flicks. Our podcast is on the following platforms of Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Radio Public, Audible, Pocket Cast, Spotify, YouTube, and now we're also on Pandora. If you want to shoot us an email with comments or any suggestions, you can do so at barrelageflicks@gmail.com. Also want to give a huge shout out to White Bat Audio on YouTube. Thank you guys so much. Your music is amazing and we really appreciate it a lot. We hope to see you guys on future episodes and upcoming weeks with all the stuff we're recording. And thank you guys so much for your support and listening in. See you then.